Hi, I'm Melissa Turner with bmagazine.org, and I am joined by Missy Crutchfield with GAIA Talks, The Earth Speaks, and also co-founder of bmagazine.org. It's an honor to have her with me today, and we're going to talk a little bit about Egypt, climate change, the UN COP27, and the intersections with the vegan and animal rights movements. Missy, can you tell us a little bit more about your passion and activism for vegan and animal rights?
Thank you, Melissa. It's wonderful to be here with you and speaking about something that is my passion. I've told folks that I've had various careers in my life, and I am just so happy to now be returning to my activism that happened in the mid 1980s when I was honored and fortunate enough to meet some of the then global leaders, thought leaders, Cleveland Amory, Jeremy Rifkin, Tom Reagan, John Robbins. Ocean Robbins was a kid then. I think he was 14 years old, and we were doing the March for Animals in Washington, D.C. And it's strange, it's frightening, it's I don't know, because everything that everyone was saying now is happening. It's coming true, and uh, we've got to do something. We've got to turn this around as fast as we can, because I'm the I've done human rights work in Egypt. I've done a lot of human rights work, Israel Palestine, and it just seems like everyone is spinning their wheels. Everyone keeps thinking they just work harder doing the same thing. And Albert Einstein said long time ago, the definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over again and expecting different results. So we've got to stop the insanity. And the one of the things, I'm as an animal rights activist, and we've always known that when you do something right, it's not just right in one way, it's right on every level. So this is where
Mhm.
the idea of intersections comes in. Because when you take care of a child and you give that child love, then that child is going to treat almost everything. So child's going to have tantrums every once in a while, but the child is going to learn compassion. The child is going to touch things, is going to see things, is going to speak in ways, is going to feel in ways, is going to experience the world in ways through a lens of compassion. So
Mhm.
when we are not compassionate to our bodies by eating food that was raised in violence, that has, yeah, I'm going to go yogi on you because I also am a yoga teacher, that
Yes.
has the lowest vibrations. So it's toxic for our body. It's toxic for our vibration. We're eating violence, and the saying in school, it's pretty common, but we're gonna dig deeper into this. It's the garbage in, garbage out. So this is truth. So violence in, violence out. Any form of violence that touches you, that you consume, either through reading, through watching, through speaking, thinking, whatever. It grows in your body, in your psyche. So everything is contagious. Everything is alive. So living things grow, they expand. So where you put your energy and your focus and what you consume is going to expand. And what we need to do is start expanding in compassion and lightness. We need to start eating things that are going to reduce our chances of getting disease. Again, back to this, it's good on every level. Those intersections. When we stop
Mhm.
looking at animals and treating animals in ways that are horrific. It's a living hell. I remember when I first came into the animal rights movement, I was in my early 20s, and I was in California trying to be an actress. Bad move, but we all make mistakes. And I came across a booth of PETA, and had never heard of PETA. So in the 80s, right? And I saw some information about animal research, and I was just profoundly horrified. And I looked at the information and saw, I'm like, how could human beings do this kind of thing to another animal, to a living being, to a creature that feels pain? And I remember seeing a poster that said, if animals believed in hell, if they believed in the devil, the face of the devil would be a human. And this is what we've done. We've glorified human research, human advancement, human achievement, human development, and it's become expanded in a consumption that is so violent to the planet in
Yeah.
in our desperate quest to try to make life more and more comfortable, more and more fast, more and more, and it's greed. It boils down to greed. So what's
Yeah.
happened is killing the planet. We're experiencing this in some of the hottest times in recorded history. California, just look at what's going on in California. I'm in Tennessee. We're in Tennessee, and people are moving here from all over. They're moving because they think we can run away from it. But we're all living on this planet, and there's a point where we can't run away from everything.
Right.
One of the number one causes of global warming is factory farming. This is eating meat. This is the violence that we put in our body that's causing heart disease, that's causing diabetes, there's indicating that dementia and Alzheimer's disease, absolutely cancer. You can pretty much wipe out your chances of having heart disease if you go vegan, plant-based diet.
That's
So
right.
you hear stuff about plant-based diet. Plant-based diet is more about your health, healthy living. Vegan is that more conscious term that you're ready to embrace compassion, even if it doesn't just benefit me, because it's going to always benefit you, because everything that we do that has compassion in it is going to lift things up, but it's not going to directly, I'm not going to absolutely, tangibly understand that this is helping me, which is
Yeah.
fine. It's great. You're going to get that no matter what. But the vegan diet asks you to ask the deeper questions about, can I step more lightly on the planet? What can I do
Mhm.
beyond eating a plant-based diet that would honor God's creation, that will nurture life? If I leave some things in my garden for the rabbits and the other animals, if I stop using these harsh chemicals, then those insects that we like to spray things on are going to live. And guess what? Those insects are nurturing those plants and those trees and the soil that our garden grows from. And the
That's
thing that
right.
most people really don't think about, we don't like these insects. We want to talk about the warm and fuzzy things and don't touch my dog, right? But then there's a cow. A cow is just as smart as a dog. So imagine the dog that you love so much. My dogs are my babies, my fur babies. I have a
Mhm.
My dogs are my fur babies. So
That's
love
right.
everyone. You
Yeah.
love them. You know the baby. So a cow is, and pigs are just about as smart as their dogs, maybe
Yeah.
smarter.
That's right.
And no matter what, they feel pain and they're doing so much suffering. And factory farming is one of the main causes of global warming. So when we do the right thing by nature, we do the right thing by having a healthy planet, reducing air pollution, reducing water pollution. Look what's happening in the oceans. How difficult is it to refuse a plastic straw, to refuse a
Mhm.
plastic bag? I just take the cart to my car from the grocery
Yeah.
store.
Yeah.
I got bags in there. It's easy. It's more fun. It's just like throw it in there. I don't have to pick up all those bags that break and everything. It's a mess. And you
Right.
open your cabinets and all those bags fall out. That's miserable. You see, so your life cleans up. The world cleans
Mhm.
up. The earth heals. We don't have the diseases anymore. And life is happy. We feel good because we know we're contributing to a healthy planet. Now let's scroll back to Palestine, Egypt,
Yeah.
similar friends and foes.
Right.
And
Exactly.
the Einstein thing. I was talking to Sammy Awad, one of the heroes. They call Sammy
Mhm.
the Gandhi of
Yeah.
Palestine. And I said, Sammy, this is several years ago. I said, I'm a vegan. I'm an animal rights activist. I do peace work in the Middle East, and this is before COVID. So I was hoping to go and do yoga with women in Bethlehem and in South Hebron and travel around because I'd been there with Center for Jewish Nonviolence and joined by Jewish Voice for Peace and J Street. And so all the groups from right to left in the progressive movement for peace in the Middle East.
Yes. Awesome.
So there were very few that were vegan. And so I was kind of the thorn in their side, if you will. I'm like, why aren't we thinking about compassion across the board? So I'm talking to Sammy.
Right.
I'm like, I've been thinking a lot about this and I've been griping about this. And I'm ready to come there, just myself or a couple of people, whatever, and do some yoga with some women and talk about peace and vegan and what Israel Israel is really great on a lot of things.
Yeah.
I love Israel. I don't love the way Israel treats non-Israelis, and
Right.
but even Jews of color. I mean, they are great on gay rights. They're great on animal rights, and they've
Hmm.
got some of the most amazing vegan restaurants. The vegan movement is huge there. I'm so proud of them. But you'll go around, you walk around Tel Aviv, and you see these graffiti stamped everywhere. You can't pink wash the occupation. So Israel's got a lot of
Yeah.
work to do.
Yeah.
They're better than Palestinians on animal rights and gay rights and all these other things. So we got to come together and teach each other things. How do we do that? By doing things the same way. It's not going to work. So I was telling Sammy, why don't we embrace the vegan movement? Because they would cross over for that. They would fight, the passion, the human rights, because I work with Israeli human rights
Right.
activists, with some of the organizations that I support in the animal
Yeah.
rights movement. And I was talking to them about this, and all of them were like, yeah, if they come together, we don't know if we can go on
Yeah.
there. But I said, I will, and we can communicate with each other and see how we can get this going. Everyone was like, yeah, now
Yeah.
we've got fresh ideas, we've got new ideas. And I believe right now is that moment, is that time. Now let's talk about
Yeah.
same kind of thing. Might be a little more complicated because things are a little more, they're, Egypt's bigger.
Hmm.
You've got, you got a, you've got a problem with the dictator. He's a dictator.
Yeah.
Sisi. The people, there's so much suffering there, and it's spread so
Hmm.
far and wide. We have to, um, we have to find ways to get in without being arrested by Sisi. Or you think Israeli is bad about that? From what I understand about Egypt and what we've protested about, don't want to go to
Right.
Egypt, but
No.
we have a moment here with COP27.
Yeah. Yes.
So what I don't understand is why my beloved friends, Egyptian Americans, Egyptians in America, Egyptians in Egypt, Egyptians in Istanbul. I've done enough work with El Shark in
Mhm.
talking to news in Turkey, in Istanbul. Beautiful, beautiful city, and
Yes.
beautiful country, and wonderful people, and successful with conversations about human rights there. But nobody is interested. Nobody takes it seriously. They're like, yeah, yeah, she's the vegan. Like, there's the cute, vegan. This is the most serious thing out there, because
Yeah.
human rights, any rights, fill in the blank, isms, whatever, are not going to matter if we all burn, or there's no water, or there's no more food. I
Right.
know I've been talking and you haven't had a chance to talk. I'm just going to say a few things, and that's that we're running out of farmable soil. And that's because of all the ways we've been disrespecting, abusing the earth. And animal agriculture, again, is part of the problem. We've cleared rainforests for cattle. The cattle can't graze there for long. The nutrients in the rainforest, this is not rocket science, folks. I don't get it. McDonald's has been so destructive to the rainforest for
Yeah.
decades. This is insane. The nutrients are in the canopy of the rainforest. They're not in the soil. So that soil is dead, and they've got to keep clearing and clearing. The rainforest and the ocean are the lungs of the planet. There are
Right.
lungs, and we are literally killing. The ocean is filled with plastic bags. It has created a black hole. Our beautiful, beloved whales and dolphins and all the other fish and living things that want to live, they didn't ask to be born not as whales or dolphins. We have to respect that God created all of these creatures, and each one of them has
Mhm.
a key role in our ecosystem and biodiversity. And they come into this black hole, and they either die there, or they end up beached up on the ocean, which you're hearing more and more about whales. Their
Yeah.
bellies and their bodies filled with bags, and they're dead. You can't fix them. They've died. They've done autopsies on these whales, and these bags just come out. This is insane. We've got a lot of young people that are waking up and going out there on their own, trying to pick up bags. But it really, really is going to take infrastructures, governments, and a united global effort to deploy to help these kids, to help people, to help all of us. So when we can heal the ocean, we can heal the land, we'll have more food. Because we're looking at, there were movies done several years ago that said we had less than 50 years. What's the margin of
Mhm.
error? When we get close to
Right.
50 years, I don't want to mess with that. So now we're
No.
probably close to less than 40 years. Now the top level. What's the margin of error here? Are we at 20? Are our children going to die of starvation? Because that's what we're looking at. Or are we going to die of starvation because we misread it, we miscalculated, and the thing is accelerating more than we ever imagined, so we're down to 10 years. Now, I hear Bill Gates and some other super rich are buying up all the land, and I can't imagine that they're thinking about, even as wonderful as their humanitarian efforts have been, I can't imagine that they're not going to make sure that no matter what, their family and friends and servants are going to be taken care of forever. So what's left over? So how much of the leftovers are going to be there for us? Now, that's a question that I want you to think about, because if we don't start taking care of the planet, then it's going to come down to human greed, and human greed is going to always err into selfishness. It's just the nature of human nature is not God's nature. Our nature, unfortunately, and until it's times of just ultimate disaster, has a tendency to be greedy. And I believe this is because we've been consuming so much violence, and there's so many people that we have just decided more walls, they're bad, we're good. We're all trying to survive. Everyone wants to be a good mother and a good father. I hear of cases outside, but let's face it, we all want to be good. It's just when we're acting out of fear and anger, and we're not thinking clearly because we've been eating garbage, and our diabetes or our blood sugar or our cancer or fill in the blank is acting up, then it goes to Maslow's hierarchy. So we've got to work to heal everybody so that everybody can protect this planet and learn to get along and hopefully make a change. But animal rights is at the center, and the intersections are at the center of animal rights, of mass incarceration. If you want to talk more about this, there's a direct connection. Feminism, our bodies. Just look at advertising, the way women's bodies are objectified in posters, billboards, on TV, on our computer, breasts, rump, thighs. We are reduced, and this doesn't just come out in conversation or, oh, isn't that cute, or she looks good, or some guy goes, she's sexy. This plays out on a much deeper subliminal level that we become, no matter what color you are, which is on the other side of that, why sisterhood is so powerful, because together, sisters, as women, as mothers, we're always going to come together. Whereas men have a little bit more of a challenge because they're, let's fight. We're warriors. We fight each other. We fight. We've got to kind of pass the fighting and the violence too, by the way, brother. The sisters are going to lift you up. But anyway, this thing that we are compared to animals, we become objectified as meat. We become subliminally, society looks at women as consumable. So gotta stop just having to consume. Ryan, what's next? Let's challenge even this forward thinking, and maybe stop and reflect and see what we can learn from our mistakes, what we can do by slowing down, back to yoga, taking a nice big breath, being thankful that we have some good air right now, because we're going to be moving into some challenges if we don't turn this around.
Right.
Now, I saw the Forbes article. Let's talk about that.
Yes. And thank you for tying together all of the intersections and how human rights and climate change and animal rights, all of these things are connected. And all of us, whether we're human rights defenders or pro-democracy supporters or climate change activists, we all need to be coming together to work on this issue. Because as you said, with climate change, if we don't have a healthy planet, human rights is a moot point.
Nothing matters.
Nothing matters.
It's just a waste of time. I saw a beautiful poster that they dropped in the Forbes article, and so I'm really proud of that. I know that the conference is going to be kind of off the beaten track a little bit. It's not going to be in Cairo or in Giza. It's going to be away a little bit. Hopefully there will be enough Egyptians there, and this won't just be for the officials from the UN, etc. I don't know how much protesting is going to happen there, because Sisi, he's so unpredictable when it comes to anyone that's threatening him. He arrests them, he puts them in jail. It is very sad. I love the Egyptian people. I will continue to do whatever I can. But I am, just like I told our dear friend recently, Muhammad, and I will tell all of my Egyptian family that I will work with you, but I will work with you when you are embracing, in each conversation, in each protest, in and everything we're doing together when you're embracing multiple issues. We can't just talk about human rights and issue. In Egypt, there's human rights problems everywhere. And then we have to talk about the reason these problems are is because we've all been consuming violence. And one of the ways that we know we heal, and the Middle East, they're so good about this. They understand the power of food. Now, we are obsessed with food in the West. We've got a huge obesity problem, which would be addressed if we were on plant-based diets too here. But in the Middle East, everything centers around family and friends and food and large tables and holy days and holidays and all of that. It's beautiful. Love to see it. The meat clear off and the Eids of the slaughter finished, and have compassionate Eids. And so if we can start consuming live, healthy things, our conversations, our family conversations, our dinner table, it will transform magically because it really does kind of go down to the subliminal stuff. When you've got a bone and you're gnawing away at something, it does enter the conversation. And, it's just, look at him, let's rip that apart. And it doesn't end at the table. You go out and you're looking at everything that's walking, that's not a human. And then it does kind of, any human that's not up to your standards perhaps or whatever, then everything is less than. So let's stop looking at things in a judgmental way. Less than, that's an animal, so it's all mine, I can kill. Let's look at things that they live here, they exist in their own God-given purpose. They're here for their own reasons. And but first, let's get rid of these slaughterhouses and these factory farms, and let's find ways to get rid of the coal and the carbon footprints, and start having conversations on multiple levels, dealing with these intersections. And you will see, you shared with me about Loma Linda study in California, Melissa, and how when they came in, and they were having conversations about spirituality. That's wonderful. That's beautiful. But in addition to that, which is evidence of how when you are eating clean, you are going to think clear. They had a plant-based diet. So they had the plant-based vegan diet and spiritual conversations. And the recidivism was almost zero. So that's another example of intersections. And we can go as deep as you want on how this is just so healing. And Gandhi said, we love our dear friend, Arun Gandhi.
Yes.
Mahatma Gandhi's grandson. And so Gandhi says, be the change. That's paraphrased from My Life is My Message. So when people want to tell you that, we've done it like this for so long, which happens to be one of the most dangerous things we could say, we've always done it that way. Right. Or, it's too late, I'll be dead by then, but your grandchildren won't. And indigenous peoples, Native Americans used to, that's where the 7 generations came from. They would never make a decision without thinking 7 generations. I'll think about their grandchildren's grandchildren's children. So we have only thought about ourselves. And that's part of the problem. Everything is consumable, everything is throwaway. So we need to start thinking about the earth and generations, the soil and generations, the water, the heat, just life, and not just human life, all life on earth. We have to nurture it. Let's bring the real green back to the planet again.
Yes. And just coming back to the pavilion, I'm not sure that we talked about what that's all about, but Forbes magazine, I think it was just last week, came out with an article on the first ever plant-based pavilion that's going to take place at UN COP27 in Egypt. And, we have a lot of mixed feelings about this event being held in Egypt because of, the authoritarian government there and the imprisonment of human rights defenders. And we've talked about this at conferences and read articles and letters on it. And it's very disturbing. But yet, here is this very innovative plant-based pavilion that is making its first ever appearance at a COP event. Right. And it really points to that tipping point that you were talking about with the vegan movement and the animal rights movement really leading the way as the last frontier of rights movements and justice movements on our planet. And this is it. The time is now. We all have to come together and do this work.
Yeah, absolutely. So my concern, I'm thrilled that, better late than never. Uh, COP and UN, come on, we can do a lot better, but great, good.
Yeah.
I'm glad that they're going to have plant-based food court halls. And
Yeah.
I hope more Egyptians will be able to see this, like I said, because then otherwise everybody leaves. And, we want to plant seeds. We want to go in the world. You go to Africa and it's wonderful that you can bring things to help the people. But the worst thing you can do is bring things and leave, and you haven't trained the people to take care of themselves. What
Yeah.
we need to do, if there's a need somewhere, then you don't leave until you have made sure that they understand how to do this on their own. Empowering communities is the best thing. Otherwise, you end up being like that story of the church that brought eggs. Not vegan, but they brought eggs. They're like, oh, what can we do? Oh, we can bring eggs. So they brought eggs to this community. I don't know what country, what city it was in Africa. And there was a beautiful family who had just started a business with eggs that weren't battery hens, but still eggs. But okay,
Right.
and in a very natural way, right? And so they bring all these eggs, this church, Westerners, and they went out of business. They had to sell everything, and
Yeah.
just who knows what happened to them.
Right.
So you don't go and bring a bunch of clothes and put the
Yeah.
shops out of business. You don't go and bring you go and find out what is needed and how you can bring technology so they can do the water for themselves, so they can have the technology and then use the technology themselves so they can become empowered. That's the way you share things in the world. You don't dump your used clothes and put other people on business. That's being selfish. That's trying to find an excuse for a vacation so you can come back with your kids and pat yourself on the back and raise more money for your congregation so your pastor can drive a bigger, nicer car and have a bigger house and you've got a mega church. So, sorry. Anyway, there's one of my rants, but
Another
yeah.
spoke of the intersections.
Yeah, it is. It
Yeah.
is. And it's our thinking. We've got to stop thinking bigger, bigger, bigger. The supersize is killing everything. The supersize your burger, your drink, I loved when Bloomberg tried to outlaw in New York City the supersize, and people just were outraged. Just like, don't take my deal. Really, is a Coke this big a deal 10 years from now when you've got diabetes? Is a deal
Mhm.
for the taxpayers when we have to pay for your tax bill? We
Right.
will have our own podcast and listen. We can go on and on about this. But
Oh, yeah.
anyway, I'm excited that they have food halls. I'm excited
Yeah.
that Forbes gave it beautiful coverage. I would like to see
Yeah.
more coverage in the West because this gives us an opportunity, because the plant-based is popular. So that's going to, now here's the other side. We can look at using the plant-based example and saying, okay, let's look at what else is going on in Egypt. Let's look at the human rights. So
Mhm.
this is again why, when I talk to my friends, Mohammed, and all of the folks in our conferences and our calls and our protests, and I'm like, it's so important, not just that, come on, you guys, work with me on this issue. It's that this issue will also give you a viable spotlight for the world to say, we're interested in veganism. Oh, really? Egyptians are? Now let's talk about the human rights that's
Mhm.
happening here. Gosh, they're
Yeah.
doing vegan stuff like Israel, Palestine,
Right.
and we are passionate about this. Well, that's horrible, this vegan business and these families, or they're vegan. I mean, it does
Yeah.
come down to that. It's all politics, but it is also the earth, it's the planet, it's our home, and we're trashing our home. And all of these countries, and whether you have a wall or not, another conversation. Everywhere, the walls don't matter. From outer space, you look at the earth, you see the Great Wall in China. And we're all an earth family. When that tide rises in a bad way, we're all going to drown. When that tide rises in a compassionate way, it lifts all the ships. Let compassion be our ship, and we will rise together and be healthy and be free. And what good we can do in the world, we will reach out and help our brothers and sisters. We will jump over those walls. We will build bridges, and we will create a whole new world.
Yes. Beautiful. Thank you, Missy. Just to wrap things up, what are a couple of things that other activists and concerned citizens can do to help raise awareness and support these efforts of recognizing intersections and working on all of the issues together.
Well, it's, the beauty of the computer, you can Google, why should I go on a plant-based diet? My favorite film is The Game Changers. I mean, how could it not be perfect with Arnold Schwarzenegger, uh, uh, not
Cameron.
James Cromwell. They're
Cameron.
getting ready to honor him. I love him from movies. James Cameron and Jackie Chan.
Yeah.
How could they not do something amazing on film, right? So
Right.
it is geared more toward, I'm a yoga teacher, more toward athletes and men, because we got to break through a little more with the men. But hey, Clint Eastwood just came out and endorsed plant-based diet. So it's
Right.
happening. All the superheroes are starting to go vegan now. So this is awesome. I just saw the commercial last night for Dove, and PETA approved. I mean, they're now like saying it, PETA approved. People are now realizing Wall Street's all in with the vegan movement. It's about money, but it's still going to really push that wave. And as whether Wall Streeters like it or not, as they eat that plant-based food and as people eat more plant-based food, their eyes are going to open up. They're going to think more clearly. They're going to do their job better. They're going to feel like they're going to wake up and be energized and be better moms and parents and all that. So it's going to lift that downward spiral no matter what. But the food is really tasting good. I mean, I've been vegan in the animal rights movement for a long time, and we were eating stuff that, like years, decades ago, back in the 80s. And that was, it was, I mean, the natural stuff is always awesome, but every once in a while you want like some good vegan cheese pizza. So now it's there. We've got it all now. There's nothing, you're not missing anything except the disease, the pain and suffering, and the planetary issues. So this is just a beautiful movement and a beautiful moment. And I believe that the consciousness of the planet now, between Wall Street and just people and their families wanting their children to be healthy, looking at the news, feeling the heat, it's undeniable. This is global warming. And I'm deliberately using the term global warming because climate change doesn't have the sting. This is global warming, and it is also a global warning.
Yes, it is. And change begins with us. Thank you so much, Missy.
Thank you.
Talk soon.
Pleasure being here.
Absolutely. Take care.
Peace sign is a V.
That's right.
Go vegan.
Take care. Thanks so much.
You too. Bye.